What's up, everybody? My name is Bridge, and this is my All Things WNBA report. Now, we're going to switch things up just a little bit differently. We've got a lot of information to get into, and we're just going to jump right into it. Now, the playoffs are finally here, so let's take a look at the standings first. Now, coming up first, overall, the Chicago Sky. They had the winning record in the Eastern Conference and clinched the number 1 spot. They have a record of 24-10. Up next at number 2, the Atlanta Dream. Now they started off very strong, but due to injuries, they slowed down just a little bit with a 17-17 record. Coming up at third, Washington Mystics. Fourth, Indiana Fever. Now these 4 teams made it into the playoffs. Unfortunately, at number 5, New York Liberty, and number 6, Connecticut Sun did not make it into the playoffs this year. Up next, we're going to take a look at the Western Conference standings. And no surprise, the Minnesota Lynx standing at number 1 with the best overall WNBA record, 26-8. Standing at number 2, the Los Angeles Sparks with a 24-10 record. Number 3, the Phoenix Mercury. Now they had a slow start gelling, but they got it together. Brittany Griner still trying to get acclimated to the way the WNBA plays. And at number 4, I was very surprised, Seattle Storm. With them missing their 1 and 2 punch, I did not think they'd make it in, but they stand at a 17-17 record, so congrats to them. And rounding out the bottom, number 5, San Antonio Silver Stars, and number 6, the Tulsa Shock. Both of those are out of contention for the playoffs this year. Now we're going to take a preview look at the Eastern Conference playoffs. Chicago Sky facing Indiana Fever. Now, Indiana has had Chicago's number this season with a 3-1 record. Chicago Sky, as good of a team they are, I don't see them beating the Indiana Fever in the playoffs. Why? And this is the biggest reason. The Chicago Sky does not have a good bench, and Indiana Fever does. Also, Chicago Sky doesn't work well in the pick and roll. They get caught up every time. So I see Indiana making it to the second round. Up next, Atlanta Dream versus Washington Mystics. Both very good teams, but Atlanta has a little bit more height and a little bit more speed, and I see Atlanta Dream making it into the second round of the playoffs. Indiana Fever facing Atlanta Dream in the second round. Now, both of these teams are very similar, but I think injuries will be the factor in this series, and I feel because of that, the Indiana Fever will edge out and beat the Atlanta Dream, making it into the championship round and winning the Eastern Conference Championship. Now here's your Western Conference preview. Minnesota Lynx facing the Seattle Storm. Now I was very shocked that the Seattle Storm made it into the playoffs. Very good team, however, the Minnesota Lynx are a much better team. Minnesota Lynx are stronger and faster, and I see Minnesota Lynx sweeping the Seattle Storm. LA Sparks facing Phoenix Mercury. Now this game I think will go down to the wire. In the regular season, LA had a 2-1 record over the Phoenix Mercury. But because of Brittany Griner's inconsistent play on offense, I think that will be the factor that edges LA over Phoenix. So look for LA to make it into the second round of the playoffs. In the second round, I've got the Minnesota Lynx facing the Los Angeles Sparks. Now, both of these teams, very good. However, the Minnesota Lynx are just that much more better. Who are you going to double team? Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, and oh, did I forget Lindsay Whalen? Look for Minnesota to edge out the Los Angeles Sparks and making it back into the championship round. Now let's take a look at who I think will be in the championship game series. Indiana Fever facing Minnesota Lynx. And this is where Indiana is definitely going to miss those injured players. Minnesota, just a much stronger team, and it forces Indiana to think about who they're going to double team. And also who is going to contain Lindsay Whalen at the point. So I've got the Minnesota Lynx winning the 2013 WNBA Championship. And that's all for today's episode of All Things WNBA Report. My name is Bridge. Let me know your thoughts. Hit me up on my page. Let me know who you think will be the championship winner. Until then, I'll see you when the championship starts.